The Gathering Storm. The Vakran Empire had ruled the northeastern spiral arm of the galaxy for 300 cycles. Their warships, massive and imposing, patrolled trade routes and enforced order across 47 star systems. No one questioned their authority. No one dared to challenge their might. Commander Thera stood on the bridge of the Vakran flagship Crimson Talon, her scaled hands clasped behind her back as she watched the viewscreen display the gathering fleet. Today was meant to be a demonstration of unity and strength. The coalition of 7 systems had assembled here in the neutral Corvin expanse to showcase their combined military power. It was a message to pirates, raiders, and anyone foolish enough to threaten the established order. Thera's species, the Vakrans, were natural warriors. Their ancestors had clawed their way up from a harsh desert world where only the strong survived. Now they stood as the dominant military force in this region of space. Their people took pride in that legacy. The bridge crew worked efficiently around her, monitoring sensors and communications. Sub-Commander Round approached from the tactical station, his movements carrying the confident swagger typical of young Vakran officers. He was eager, perhaps too eager, but capable nonetheless. The fleet assembled beautifully before them. 73 warships from 7 different species, each one representing the pinnacle of their civilization's military engineering. The Karathi brought their heavy cruisers, bristling with plasma cannons. The Selvan contributed fast attack frigates, known for their precision targeting systems. The Drexen, a newer member of the coalition, had sent their carrier groups equipped with fighter squadrons. It was an impressive sight, one that should have filled Thera with satisfaction. Instead, she felt a strange unease she could not quite identify. Sub-Commander Round cleared his throat to get her attention. "Commander, all fleet elements report ready status. The demonstration can begin on your order." Thera nodded slowly, her golden eyes still fixed on the display. Something felt wrong, though she could not articulate what it was. Perhaps it was simply the weight of command, the responsibility of coordinating so many vessels in one location. A single mistake could turn this demonstration into a disaster. "Begin the exercise," she ordered. "All ships, commence formation patterns Delta through Epsilon." The fleet began to move with practiced coordination. Ships arranged themselves into defensive formations, then offensive configurations, showcasing their ability to work together despite their different origins and technologies. It was a carefully choreographed dance of military power. Thera watched the patterns unfold, noting minor timing issues that would need to be addressed in the after-action review. The Drexen carrier groups were consistently half a second behind in their positioning. Small errors, but in actual combat, such delays could prove fatal. "Commander," the sensor officer interrupted, her voice carrying an edge of confusion. "We have detected an unidentified vessel entering the expanse." "Just one ship?" Thera asked. "Yes, Commander. It appeared at the edge of our sensor range approximately 30 seconds ago. The contact is moving toward our position at sub-light speed." "What is its configuration?" "Unknown, Commander. The sensor returns are unusual. The ship does not match any known design in our database." Thera felt the unease in her chest intensify. An unknown vessel approaching during a military exercise was concerning, but not unprecedented. Occasionally, independent merchants or explorers stumbled into restricted areas. However, something about this situation felt different. "Display the contact," she commanded. The main view screen shifted to show a distant speck against the black of space. At this range, details were impossible to discern, but the computer overlaid sensor data onto the image. The ship was medium-sized, larger than a frigate but smaller than a cruiser.
Its hull appeared to absorb light rather than reflect it, giving it an almost ghostly quality even in the enhanced display. "Hail them," Thera ordered. "Standard greeting and identification request." The communications officer worked her console, then looked up with a frown. "No response, Commander. They're receiving our transmission, but they are not acknowledging." "Send it again. Include a warning that they are entering a restricted military zone." Again, no response came. The unknown ship continued its steady approach, neither accelerating nor changing course. It moved with an unsettling confidence, as if unconcerned by the presence of 73 warships. Sub-Commander Round stepped closer, his hand resting on his sidearm in an unconscious gesture. "Commander, this is highly irregular. Should we scramble interceptors?" "Not yet," Thera replied, "but bring the fleet to alert status. All ships, passive sensors only. I want to know what we are dealing with before we take action." The Coalition fleet shifted subtly, weapons systems warming up but not yet active. Every captain in the fleet was now watching the approaching vessel with growing concern. The sensor officer spoke again, her voice tight with tension. "Commander, I am getting more detailed readings now. This ship is generating energy signatures I have never seen before. Its power output is fluctuating in ways that should not be possible." "What do you mean fluctuating?" "It is as if the ship is operating on multiple types of power systems simultaneously. Matter-antimatter reaction, zero-point energy extraction, and something else I cannot identify. The readings keep changing." "That doesn't make sense," Ral interjected. "No ship uses multiple primary power systems. It is inefficient and dangerous." The sensor officer looked at him with wide eyes. "I'm telling you what the instruments show, Sub-Commander. This vessel is unlike anything in our records." Thera made a decision. "All ships, weapons to standby. Unknown vessel. This is Commander Thera of the Vakran flagship Crimson Talon. You are entering restricted space during a military exercise. Identify yourself immediately or be classified as hostile." The silence that followed seemed to stretch for an eternity. Every being on every bridge in the fleet waited for a response. The unknown ship continued its steady approach, now close enough that visual details began to emerge on the screens. It was beautiful in a terrible way. The hull was smooth and dark, with lines that seemed to flow like water frozen in metal. There were no obvious weapons ports, no visible engine arrays, nothing that suggested conventional ship design. It looked organic somehow, as if it had been grown rather than built. Strange patterns glowed faintly across its surface, appearing and disappearing in sequences that might have been writing or might have been something else entirely. "Commander, we are being scanned," the sensor officer announced. "That ship is running active sensors across our entire fleet." "Block them," Thera ordered. "Our countermeasures are ineffective, Commander. Their scans are operating on frequencies we cannot jam. They are penetrating our shields as if they were not there. How is that possible?" "I do not know, Commander, but they now have complete tactical information on every ship in our fleet." Thera felt her warrior instinct screaming warnings. This was no merchant vessel. This was no explorer stumbling into the wrong place. This ship had come here deliberately, had scanned them deliberately, and was making it clear that coalition defenses meant nothing to it. "All ships, raise shields to maximum. Charge weapons. Unknown vessel, you have 10 seconds to identify yourself before we open fire." The countdown began in her head. 10 seconds. 9. 8. The ship continued forward, unhurried, confident. 7. 6. 5. Round gripped his weapon tighter. 4. 3. 2. 1. "Commander, we are receiving a transmission," the communications officer said quickly. "Unscreen." The view screen changed to show the interior of the unknown ship. The bridge, if it could be called that, was unlike anything Thera had ever seen. Smooth surfaces glowed with soft light. Holographic displays floated in the air showing information in an alien script, and standing in the center of it all was a human. Thera had heard of humans. They were a recently discovered species from a small world on the outer rim. They had made contact with Coalition space about 50 cycles ago. Reports described them as curious but relatively primitive, still learning about galactic civilization. They operated small trading vessels and research ships, nothing threatening, nothing military. But the being on the screen wore a uniform of deep black, with silver insignia. Her hair was pulled back in a tight style that emphasized sharp features and calculating eyes. She stood with a posture that spoke of authority and combat training. "Greetings, Commander Thera," the human said, in perfect Vakran. Her voice was calm, almost pleasant. "I am Captain Sarah Chen of the Terran vessel Phantom's Edge. I apologize for not responding sooner. We were conducting our own sensor analysis."
The demonstration of power. The silence on the bridge of the Crimson Talon was suffocating. Commander Thera stared at the tactical display, her mind struggling to accept what her eyes clearly showed. 143 human vessels surrounded the Coalition fleet. They had appeared from nowhere, as if reality itself had split open to release them. Each ship bore the same dark, flowing design as the Phantom's Edge. Each one radiated power signatures that made Coalition sensors scream in protest. Sub-Commander Realm broke the silence first, his voice shaking. "Commander, we need to respond. We cannot let them intimidate us like this." Thera did not take her eyes from the display. "Respond how, Sub-Commander? We are surrounded by a force twice our size that remained completely invisible until they chose to reveal themselves. What response would you suggest?" "We fight," Realm said, though his conviction wavered. "We are the Vakran Empire. We do not surrender to anyone." Before Thera could reply, Captain Chen's voice filled the bridge again. "I can hear your discussion, Commander. Your communications are not as secure as you believe. Please do not do anything foolish. We did not reveal ourselves to start a war. We revealed ourselves to prevent one." "Prevent a war?" Thera demanded. "You surround us with overwhelming force and speak of prevention?" "Exactly," Chen replied. "You are military people, Commander. You understand the concept of deterrence. We are showing you our strength so that you understand conflict with humanity would be unwise. This is not aggression. This is education." The communications officer signaled urgently. "Commander, we are receiving transmissions from all Coalition ships. They are requesting orders. Some captains are recommending immediate withdrawal. Others are calling for a coordinated attack." Thera felt the weight of command pressing down on her like a physical force. Every decision she made in the next few moments would echo through history. If she ordered an attack and failed, she would be remembered as the commander who led the Coalition to disaster. If she ordered retreat without fighting, she would be branded a coward. If she did nothing, she appeared weak and indecisive. "Tell all ships to hold position and await further orders," she finally commanded. "No one fires unless I give the direct command. Understood?" "Understood, Commander," the officer replied, though her voice carried doubt. Thera opened a direct channel to the Phantom's Edge. "Captain Chen, you have made your point. Your stealth capabilities are impressive, but you must know that even with numerical superiority, attacking this fleet would cost you dearly. Many of your ships would be destroyed. Is that a risk you are willing to take?" Chen appeared on the view screen again, her expression unreadable. "You misunderstand our intentions, Commander. We have no desire to attack anyone. But since you raised the question of cost, let me ask you something. How many ships do you think we would lose in an engagement with your fleet? Be honest." Thera considered the question carefully. The human ships had superior stealth technology. Clearly, their sensors were more advanced. But in direct combat, numbers and firepower mattered. The Coalition vessels were well-armed and battle-tested. Their crews were experienced warriors. "Assuming full engagement with no retreat," Thera said slowly, I estimate you would lose between 30 and 40% of your force, perhaps more if we focused fire effectively. Chen nodded thoughtfully. A reasonable assessment based on conventional tactical analysis. Now let me give you the correct answer, Commander. We would lose 0 ships, not 1. Your weapons cannot harm us. Your defenses cannot stop us. And I am going to prove it to you. The view screen cut off before Thera could respond. Every instinct screamed danger. All ships, Chen's voice announced over an open channel that reached every vessel in both fleets. You are about to witness a demonstration. I want to be very clear about something. We are not attacking you. We are showing you what would happen if you attacked us. Please observe carefully. One of the human vessels, a ship similar in size to the Phantom's Edge, moved forward from the formation. It approached the Coalition fleet slowly, deliberately, until it positioned itself exactly 3,000 kilometers from the nearest Coalition warship, a Karathi heavy cruiser named Eternal Flame. Commander Thera of the Coalition fleet, Chen continued, please order one of your ships to fire on the approaching vessel. Use any weapons you choose, full power. We will not evade or return fire. Thera felt her blood run cold. This was a trap. It had to be. No commander would willingly allow their ship to be fired upon unless they were absolutely certain it could withstand the assault. But what choice did she have? If she refused, she appeared afraid. If she accepted and the human ship was destroyed, the situation would escalate into full warfare. If she accepted and the human ship survived, it would prove their technological superiority beyond any doubt. Captain Vorn of the Eternal Flame, Thera transmitted, you are authorized to fire on the human vessel. 1 full barrage, standard combat protocols. There was a pause before Vorn responded. Commander, are you certain? This seems like a provocation. Do it, Captain. That is an order. Acknowledged, Commander. Eternal Flame is engaging. The Karathi heavy cruiser was one of the most powerful warships in the Coalition fleet. Its primary weapons were twin plasma lance cannons, capable of burning through reinforced hull plating like paper. Secondary armaments included fusion missile batteries and particle beam arrays. When fully unleashed, the Eternal Flame could reduce a frigate to molten debris in seconds. Every weapon on the ship fired simultaneously. Twin streams of superheated plasma, each one glowing blue-white, crossed the distance to the human vessel in less than a second. Missiles followed, their engines burning as they accelerated to attack speed. Particle beams, invisible except for the distortion they caused in space, hammered against the target. The human ship disappeared behind a wall of destructive energy. The intensity was so great that viewing screens automatically dimmed to protect the eyes of those watching. For 3 full seconds, enough power to level a city struck the lone human vessel. Then the weapons stopped. The Eternal Flame's systems needed time to recharge and cool. The brilliant light faded, energy dissipated into space, and the human ship sat there, completely unchanged. Not a mark on its hull, not a scorch, not a dent. It looked exactly as it had before the attack, its dark surface reflecting nothing, absorbing everything. Impossible, Realm whispered. Nothing can withstand that much firepower. Captain Vorn, Thera transmitted, her voice carefully controlled. Sensor analysis. What did your weapons accomplish? There was a long pause before Vorn replied. His voice carried disbelief and fear in equal measure. Commander, sensors show 0 damage to the target vessel. Our plasma lances made contact, but appear to have been dispersed somehow. Missiles detonated against an energy field we cannot identify. Particle beams were absorbed or deflected. I do not understand this. It violates every principle of physics we know. Chen's voice returned. Still calm, still professional. Thank you for that demonstration, Captain Vorn. Your ship performed admirably. Now, allow me to explain what you just witnessed. The Phantom's Edge does not use conventional shielding technology. We developed something more effective.
Our defensive system analyzes incoming weapons fire in real time and generates countermeasures specific to each threat. Plasma weapons encounter magnetic fields precisely calibrated to disperse them. Kinetic weapons face gravitational lensing that redirects their trajectory. Energy beams meet reactive armor that absorbs and converts their power into our own systems. Nothing you have can penetrate our defenses because our defenses adapt to everything you use. Thera felt her warrior pride crumbling. In Vakran culture, strength was everything. But this was not strength. This was technological superiority so complete that it rendered traditional concepts of military power meaningless. "Captain Chen," she said slowly, "you have made your point. Your defensive capabilities are beyond our current understanding. But defense alone does not win battles. Offensive power matters as well." "True," Chen agreed. "Shall I demonstrate that as well?" "No," Thera said quickly. "That will not be necessary." "I am afraid it is necessary, Commander. You need to understand the full scope of what you face. Only then can we have an honest conversation about the future." The human ship that had just withstood the Eternal Flames assault began to change. Sections of its hull slid open, revealing weapon ports that were previously invisible. But these were unlike any weapons Thera had ever seen. They did not glow. They did not hum with power. They simply existed, dark and silent, and terrifying. "We will target debris only," Chen announced. "No coalition ships will be harmed. Please observe." One of the weapon ports activated. There was no visible beam, no projectile Thera could see, but a piece of debris floating near the coalition fleet, a chunk of asteroid that had been there for decades, suddenly ceased to exist. It did not.
The truth revealed. The Council Chamber on Valera Prime was the heart of coalition governance. 7 species had built this place together, each contributing architectural elements from their homeworlds. The result was a magnificent structure that symbolized unity and cooperation. Soaring columns of Vakran desert stone supported a dome of transparent Karathi crystal. Sylvan bioluminescent gardens grew along the walls, their soft glow mixing with Drexen holographic art that floated through the air. It was a place designed to inspire hope and confidence in the future. Today, it felt like a tomb. Commander Thera stood before the assembled council representatives, her formal uniform bearing the medals and honors of 30 years of military service. Those decorations felt hollow now, reminders of victories that suddenly seemed insignificant. Around her, holographic displays showed the footage from the Korvan expanse. Every council member had watched the recording a dozen times. Every council member understood what it meant. But understanding and accepting were different things. High Chancellor Morek of the Karathi spoke first. His voice carried the weight of age and authority. "Commander Thera, your report has been reviewed by this council. Your service record is exemplary. Your honesty is not in question. But what you are asking us to accept challenges everything we have built over the past 2 centuries. You are asking us to surrender our military autonomy to a species we barely know. With respect, High Chancellor, I am asking you to acknowledge reality." Thera kept her voice steady and professional. "The humans have demonstrated technological superiority that makes our current military capabilities obsolete. They have offered alliance and assistance. Refusing that offer out of pride would be foolish." "Foolish?" Ambassador Krell of the Drexen Empire rose from his seat, his blue skin flushing darker with anger. "We are not foolish, Commander. We are cautious. For all we know, this demonstration was designed to frighten us into submission. These consuming swarm creatures they warned us about might not even exist." Thera had expected this argument. She activated a holographic display showing the sensor data the humans had provided. "This is deep space tracking information provided by Captain Chen. It shows the swarm's movement over the past 20 cycles. Their trajectory, their speed, their size. Our own long-range monitoring stations have begun detecting anomalies in the regions where this data suggests the swarm has already passed. Dead systems, planets stripped of atmosphere, debris fields where civilizations once existed." "That proves nothing," Krell insisted. "Those could be natural disasters or unrelated conflicts.
You are asking us to accept the word of strangers who appeared from nowhere with impossible weapons. Thera felt her patience wearing thin, but she maintained her composure. Ambassador, I was there. I saw what their technology can do. I watched a Karathi heavy cruiser fire every weapon it possessed at a single human ship, and that ship was undamaged. Not disabled, not wounded, undamaged. If the humans wanted to conquer us, they could have done so at any time over the past 50 cycles. Instead, they offer alliance. Senator Vera of the Selvin Collective spoke next, her voice softer but no less concerned. Commander Thera, even if we accept that the humans are technologically superior, and even if we believe the swarm exists, there remains a fundamental question. Why should we trust them? What do they gain from helping us? Surely a species with such power does not act out of pure altruism. Before Thera could respond, the chamber doors opened. A human walked in, flanked by 2 coalition security officers who looked extremely uncomfortable. The human was a man of medium height, with gray-streaked hair and calm brown eyes. He wore a simple black suit with a small silver pin on his lapel. The pin bore symbols Thera recognized from her research, the flag of United Earth. "Forgive my intrusion," the man said in perfect common tongue. His accent was slight, but noticeable. "I am Marcus Webb, Chief Diplomatic Officer for the Terran Republic. I was invited to address this council regarding recent events. Captain Chen informed me that questions about our motivations have arisen. Perhaps I can provide clarity." High Chancellor Morik looked annoyed at the interruption, but gestured for Webb to continue. "Very well, Officer Webb, you may speak. But understand that this council will not be intimidated by demonstrations of power or veiled threats." Webb smiled gently. "High Chancellor, I assure you that intimidation is the last thing we desire. In fact, I am here to do something humans rarely do. I am here to apologize." The council chamber fell silent. "Apologize?" Morek repeated. "For what?" "For our deception," Webb replied. "For hiding our true capabilities for 50 cycles. For allowing you to believe we were a minor species of little consequence. That deception was necessary for our security, but it was still a deception. And now that the truth has been revealed, we owe you honesty, complete honesty, about who we are, what we have endured, and why we make the offer we do." Webb walked to the center of the chamber, his movements unhurried. He activated his own holographic display, and images began to appear. Images of Earth, a beautiful blue-green world with white clouds and vast oceans. Cities of glass and steel, forests and mountains. Then the images changed. The same cities burning. Mushroom clouds rising from impact zones. Oceans turned dark with pollution. Forests reduced to ash. The sky itself seemed to weep with smoke and fire. "This is Earth's history," Webb said quietly. 400 years of self-inflicted destruction. We discovered atomic power and immediately used it to build weapons. We developed biological engineering and created plagues. We learned to manipulate genetics and designed viruses to target specific populations. Every advance in science became an advance in killing. We fought over resources, over territory, over ideology, over religion. We fought because we were different. We fought because we were the same. We fought because fighting was all we knew. The images continued. Mass graves, refugee camps stretching to the horizon, children with hollow eyes staring at cameras, medical facilities overwhelmed with casualties. The council members watched in horrified silence. Senator Vera covered her mouth with her hand. Even Ambassador Krell seemed shaken. At our worst point, Earth's population dropped from 8 billion to 3 billion in less than 2 decades. Entire nations ceased to exist. Languages were lost forever. Cultural heritage spanning thousands of years was erased. We came so close to extinction that some of our scientists calculated we only had a 5% chance of surviving another century. But we did survive. Do you know why? No one answered. Webb's expression grew haunted. Because we had no choice. We were trapped on one world with nowhere to run. We could not escape each other. We could not avoid the consequences of our actions. Every weapon we used poisoned our own environment. Every atrocity we committed created enemies who would seek revenge. We learned, slowly and painfully, that cooperation was not idealism. It was survival. Peace was not weakness. It was the only path forward. The images changed again. This time, they showed rebuilding. People working together. Different ethnicities, different cultures, different beliefs, all laboring side by side to restore what had been destroyed. New cities rising from ruins, forests replanted, oceans cleaned, the sky clearing. It took us 200 years, but we finally unified. We became one people instead of hundreds of nations. We learned to value diversity rather than fear it. We learned to resolve conflicts through dialogue rather than violence. And when we finally achieved faster-than-light travel and came to space, we carried those lessons with us. Webb turned to face the council directly. You ask what we gain from helping you. The answer is simple. We gain the chance to prevent what happened to us from happening to others. We gain the opportunity to use the terrible weapons we created for self-destruction to instead protect those who cannot protect themselves. We gain meaning for the suffering we endured. If our pain, our mistakes, our hard-won wisdom can save your civilizations, then perhaps it was not all in vain. Ambassador Krell spoke, his voice less hostile than before. Beautiful words, Officer Webb. But words are cheap. How do we know you will not use your superior power to dominate us once we accept your help? How do we know this alliance will not become subjugation? Webb nodded. A fair question. Let me answer it with facts rather than assurances. The holographic display changed to show a star chart. Red markers indicated dozens of systems. These are systems where human vessels have operated over the past 50 cycles. Mining colonies, research stations, trade outposts. In each case, we encountered indigenous populations. Some were pre-spaceflight civilizations. Others were spacefaring but technologically limited. In every single case, we had the power to conquer, exploit, or enslave. We chose to do none of those things. Instead, we observed, we learned, and we left them to develop on their own terms. He highlighted several specific systems. Here, on Tivon 4, we discovered a species that had just achieved nuclear capability. They were on the brink of the same catastrophic wars that nearly destroyed Earth. We could have intervened directly, but that would have violated their sovereignty. Instead, we left them anonymous broadcasts containing mathematical proofs and scientific data showing the long-term consequences of nuclear war. We gave them information and let them make their own choices. They chose peace. Their civilization thrives today, and they have no idea we exist. Webb pointed to another system. On Kresh 6, we found a colony being raided by pirates. We could have revealed ourselves